Yes, good afternoon. Good afternoon to one and all. Welcome to this session on indirect taxes, specifically on GST. So, we are doing this classes as a part of Board of Studies initiative, a very good initiative which is undertaken by the Board of Studies. This all started off as a measure when the COVID started, that the CA Institute thought that there will be a lot of students who will not be able to attend classes. And that's how this initiative was started and they continued it, right? Even after COVID is subsumed, still the institute saw that yes, this will add a lot of value addition to the students. And that's the reason these live virtual classes is being conducted for the benefit of the students. I would encourage all the students to take maximum benefit from these classes because you have so much of advantage. You don't have to attend the classes physically. You don't have to search private classes outside. You don't have to spend for classes outside. You have your material, study material, which is very good, and these virtual classes, which are outstanding. I have seen other classes also, and I've got feedback from other students also of other subjects, and they're saying, yes, the classes have been really good, which has been very helpful. And after they clear the exams, they feel that yes, these classes have been really helpful to them. We have seen students who have been doing self-study and just simply relying on these classes, and they're able to clear their CA at the first instance itself. Yes, there have been one person is saying that he's been really grateful to the Board of Studies for providing, which are very helpful. That yes, these classes are definitely very helpful, and this will help you to do two things. One is you are listening to the classes live. In the live classes, you can ask your queries and resolve it. And once you have attended the live classes, the recordings are available. The presentations, what we take, will be shared. So you can use them. Everything is for you. So this is a student centric measurement wherein the focus is student and the focus is nothing else, just the students. Give the maximum comfort to the students is the objective of these classes. So kindly take maximum benefit from these classes. So you would have known taxation. Taxation is not new for you. You would have known taxation, but you would have known only mostly the direct tax part, right? You would have known the direct tax part, the income tax portions. In this, our aspects of study will be covering part B of the paper 3, right? Your paper 3 has taxation. Part A is for 50 marks for direct tax, and the next 50 is for goods and services tax. So we will focus on goods and services tax and deal with it. Now, in terms of introduction of the topic, today's session itself will be introduction and understanding the basics of GST. We will go through in a very, very slow manner so that your initial classes, you can pick it up and you are getting adjusted to the faculty and you are getting to know my language and my tone and my speed. Wherever you have queries, please raise your queries in terms of putting it in the chat box or putting it in the app question panel, wherein I will get the list of all your questions. Okay. Few students I can see are having a familiar name for whom I had taken a session in the last batch. And yes, they are also visible here. Tannu, Vishwakarma, very good. Good to see you all. And another thing is the what change this time the institute has done is the BOS has done is they have changed the timings. Generally, we used to have classes early in the morning, right, which is from 7 to 9:30, or we used to have it in the evening from 6 to 8:30. So probably they would have got feedback from students saying that 6 to 8:30 is very tiring. So that's why this hour of the now we have three batches. Oh, awesome. Very good. If you have three batches, that's very nice. So that you have to accommodate all your timing to that extent. So once you take up this inter, right, and you cannot try to sail on two boats, that you will do your articleship also, or you'll do a job also, and you'll do this study also. That becomes very, very difficult. It becomes very pressurizing for you. That's the reason your concentration should be fully on studies, right? That's why Pranav, yes, we have three batches one in the morning, one in the afternoon, and one in the evening, so that you are concentrating completely on your studies. Oh, timing is great, but Board of Studies started live classes, all subjects in one go. Correct. See, my personal experiences, I had attended the classes for myself. I didn't have this liberty of having virtual classes like this. We had to go to a physical class. I have prepared 1 year in advance before the exams. And when I had gone for one subject classes, I was liking the classes there, but when the exam came closer, I forgot everything. I couldn't remember anything at all because I had to do my articleship and I had to attend the classes also. So whatever classes they had taken, I did not remember anything. When I could take the notes, even from the notes, I am not able to recollect anything. So I had to go to our classes again. So when you are in your reading mode, you will always read. When you are in your non-reading mode, that is when you have a lot of time for your exams and you're not prepared for, you're not starting to prepare, then what happens? There will be a gap and whatever you do, classes will not be beneficial or you may not remember it. That's the reason the institute wants you that you study all together. That's the reason they've all started together so that you go through in your study mode and you are cut off from your work mode. So when you're in study mode, you should be completely focused. So when you have three batches, 7 to 9:30. So from 9:30 to 2:30, you have a break, right? You go through the classes, what was taught from the first day. Then from 2:30 to 5, you have second batch. So after 5 o'clock, take some break, and again at 6, you have another class, right? So three continuous classes, three different subjects. It's a way that you will get engrossed, otherwise you will get lost. That's the reason having continuous classes is also helpful. In terms of that is a pattern of what is there and how we will go through it. So you will see that the schedule of my classes have been posted on the Board of Studies app. You can go through see the dates and understand which all dates my classes will be there. And please attend those classes, because even if one class you leave, you miss out, you will lose the track. There is a chain, right? There is all interconnected classes. So we have, and the institute has been so very liberal that they have given us so many classes that we can cover up entire syllabus very slowly and in detail. Detailing is very important because in CA exams, even one aspect is not like an optional thing that you can leave and say that, okay, I'm positive with other chapters, so I will still leave it. No, that's not permitted, because any small chapter which you may consider not important, you may get questions from that also. So don't leave away any chapter. Complete the entire chapter, complete the entire syllabus. So in our classes, we'll have a detailed discussion on all the chapters. Now, in terms of my introduction, my name is Deepak P. Jain. I am a chartered accountant and a practicing company secretary. So I have been in practice as a chartered accountant. I qualified in the year November 2008. November 2008, I qualified. Then I was practicing as a practicing chartered accountant till 2014. And in 2014, I surrendered my certificate of practice as a chartered accountant, and I had taken certificate of practice as a company secretary. From then, I am practicing as a company secretary, but being a chartered accountant, you can't take away a chartered accountant from a chartered accountant. So you can't take away the learnings what I had when I was a chartered accountant. So those learnings are still there. I practice in two major areas of indirect taxes and company law matters. These are two primary areas. I am based out of Bangalore, and my classes also will be from Bangalore. I have been practicing in Bangalore since 2011, and the journey continues. So, in terms of GST, how I am interested in GST and what made me take the area of GST is I was practicing in the areas of service tax, majorly service tax and VAT. Compared to VAT, it was mainly service tax. I was taking service tax as a practice, and then this GST came in. and I was reading through the GST before the GST law came in because they were model laws, right? The law did not just come like that. They gave lot of model laws saying that this is how the law will be there, this will be the rule there. Then we had to give our feedback. So I've been reading from then, and then the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India had selected few members. They had taken a literal physical interview, and they had said that whoever are interested, you have to come and present on this topic, not GST, pre GST, whatever topic you're comfortable, come and present it. Once you're selected, you will be called as faculty members for the members of the institute. So I was lucky enough and I was selected as a faculty for the CA Institute for the members for GST. So I'm a faculty with the ICAI for GST. If you see the indirect tax website, IDTC website, they have a list of faculties. You'll find my name there. And there was also a faculty selection for UAE VAT, like in Dubai and Middle East, there was no taxation. And in 2018, they had also brought in taxation as low as 5%. So we all studied that also. And then we were selected as a faculty. And I had been to Dubai to see how does the work happens. So that's been the journey of mine in terms of this indirect taxes pre-GST. And post-GST, I've taken a lot of sessions for the members, taken up classes for the students since 2000, I would say 2020 onwards. Every two batches I take, and now of course it will be three batches. So that's how I've been connected with GST. I appear before the uh, GST appeals, GST assessments, and we do a lot of consultancy in terms of GST. That is how is my background in terms of the GST. As a CA, can I work in UAE? Yes, you can work. There is a lot of demand for chartered accountants in UAE as well. You have a lot of scope there also. उमेरा बर्दोवाला, प्लीज सर यू स्पीक हिंदी एंड इंग्लिश, करेक्ट। ओके। जहां पर भी हमको इंग्लिश में बोलना पड़ेगा हम इंग्लिश में बोलेंगे, जब कॉन्सेप्ट सिखाना पड़ेगा तब हम इंग्लिश में भी बोलेंगे। सो द लास्ट टाइम क्या, वो बहुत सारे लोगों ने कंप्लेंट किया कि हमको हिंदी बोलते हैं तो समझ में नहीं आता है, क्योंकि थोड़े लोग साउथ के रहते हैं उनको हिंदी नहीं आता है। तो मैं क्या करूंगा, दोनों बोलूंगा, जहां पर भी इंपॉर्टेंट कॉन्सेप्ट समझाना है वो हिंदी में भी बोलूंगा और इंग्लिश में भी बोलूंगा। सो फॉर द बेनिफिट ऑफ स्टूडेंट्स, आई वांट टू नो लाइक योर, you could respond on the chat box or you can respond here also on your app. How many of you are comfortable with Hindi? And if you're not comfortable, tell no. If you're comfortable, tell yes. If you're not comfortable in Hindi, tell no. Okay, a lot of people saying yes, Hindi. If you are saying no, okay, okay. So we'll have a combination of both, right? So for people who wants Hindi, I will tell them in Hindi, and the same thing will be repeated in English also. So don't have to worry. If you're not able to understand Hindi, that's okay. I will repeat the same concept in English also. And people who are comfortable in Hindi, major portion of it will be in English because you will have to write your exams in English, right? So you have to understand in English, and for your understanding, for your better understanding, only for your better understanding, I will talk in Hindi and explain it in Hindi. I'm attempting the January 2025 exam. Oh, January 2025 exam. This may not be the correct batch because this is for May 2025, and we will have a detailed study for January. If you attend this, then it will be very late for you, right? Because the classes will go on up till December and January. So it's better that you attend the other batch, which is a revisioner batch for the January 2025. I suggest you should attend that. Okay, and few people are saying they're comfortable with both. That's good. Okay, very good. Good response. Yeah. Okay, awesome. So let's start with our topic, which is on GST. Sure, Meena, Mruta. I will take it in English, not to worry. In terms of the books, I have books of July 2023 edition. Are there many changes in the new edition? No, there are not much of changes. So you can use the July 23 edition as well. In terms of our topic, GST, you would have heard a lot of things about GST. You would have studied some things. Some things may be correct, some things may be wrong. So our session will aim to cover up the law part, what is there in the GST law, and the practical part, and from a exam perspective also, what is to be considered. Our main objective in this live virtual classes will be that we will cover up the concepts, because what happens is this is not a purely theoretical subject and neither purely fully practical subject. It will be a combination of both, wherein you will have some theoretical questions and some practical questions also. So wherever possible, at the end of the session, I will try to take up some questions. We have a separate practical session. We have 3 sessions for practical solving sessions. So we will take there, because even if I take one chapter and if I try to bring up practical things, that will be limited, right? Because in your exams, you will have a combination of 2 to 3 chapters, not restricted to one chapter. So in our practical sessions, you will get a complete one, but wherever possible to make you understand, I will use Excel tools. I will use some problems so that we can solve it. Okay. 100% syllabus. Yes, in my classes, 100% syllabus will be covered. Vasant, about articleship, whether you want to join now or later, see, that's a very tricky option. So it all depends on your comfort and your requirements. So based on that, you will have to decide whether you should take it now or later on. Okay. Hmm. So in terms of GST, when we have a taxation, all right. First is, let us understand what is taxation. Then we will see why GST came in, because it is not very old, right? It started only in 2017, and before that there were other laws, right? So we'll try to find out what was the difference and what was the requirement to bring in GST. But before that, let us understand some theoretical basics in terms of what is a taxation and why should the taxes be paid. Okay. Now we are in a economy, or we are in a place wherein the government is doing not only collection or only extracting money from the public, but they are doing some welfare for the public also, right? They're doing a lot of welfare for the public. So it is called as a welfare state. The government is not there only to collect taxes and give you licenses or something. There is no requirement of any license. Like earlier, before 1990, before the great liberalization, factories, if you had to open, you had to take a license from the government. And only once the government gives the license, you can open it. So that license Raj is completely demolished. If you want to open, you can open a factory, take the statutory registration so that you don't harm others, right? So that's a great change in terms of the government policy from before liberalization and later on. You can open up, you're a free trade economy. Now, what will the government do then? So the government was earlier responsible for issuing this license. Now that license has been removed, now what should the government do? There were a lot of time when the government was busy giving these licenses itself. So now they are freed up. The timing for the giving license is reduced. So now they will do a lot of welfare. That's the main objective why this license Raj was removed, wherein you don't need to take any license. Government will not intervene in it. You just apply for basic information and do a good compliance and be good to others. And the government also will be doing good to you. That is why it is called as a welfare state. State means the country. Country is called as a state in a broader economic terms. So the government is a welfare state. So it has to spend for the public expenditure. It will have to spend for the betterment, for the infrastructure, for the utilities, for the water, electricity, and roads. So when it spends, it has to spend, right? So how will it get the money? It just cannot go to the RBI and tell that, okay, punch extra monies, print extra monies, mint extra coins, and give it to the government. Government will keep spending. That will have an impact on the systems, on the complete economic situation will go wrong. So it cannot go to the RBI now and then. It has to go at a limited period of time itself, saying that, okay, now you have to print some money. But otherwise, how will the government get money to do this welfare state, to do this public expenditure? It will be through in terms of various sources. One of the sources is collection of taxes. Correct. If it does a lot of minting, then it will increase the inflation. That's the reason it doesn't want to do that also. So government will need funds and lead funds to spend. One of the modes is taxation. Now, taxations are collected, taxes are collected to meet the socio-economic objective of the government, because government is a welfare state and it has to do public expenditure and it has a fiscal policy to stimulate the economic growth. So if you have to define tax, what is a tax? So we understood basically what's the tax, right? Because some collection, what the government does from the public so that it can spend for the public welfare activities or lot of defense activities. That is also public welfare, right? Because the country, the government has to guard the country from invaders and be protected. That's why it will spend a lot of things on the public. We spend a lot of money on the defense and various other measures. So to do all of this, it has to get some source. That source, one of that source is taxation. Now, what is the definition of tax? Tax is a burden. What kind of burden? Pecuniary burden. Pecuniary means involving money. The definition itself says that nobody wants to pay taxation out of happiness or joy. They will not pay. So whenever in a practice, when we ask a client to pay the taxes, saying with your we have done your income tax computation, now you have to pay some taxes. This first way make a big noise saying that why should we pay taxes? We are not getting anything in return from the government. See the roads, they are not nice. So many things comes up, right? लोग बहुत सारा कंप्लेंट करते हैं कि हमको टैक्स क्यों भरना चाहिए. जब भी टैक्स भरने की सीजन आती है, इनकम टैक्स रिटर्न जब फाइल करते हैं, तब वो आके पूछेंगे कि हमको टैक्स क्यों भरना है. टीडीएस कटा है तो आप टीडीएस से ले लीजिए, हम एक्स्ट्रा टैक्स नहीं भरेंगे. ऐसा मानसिकता है. लेकिन हमको समझाना है कि हम टैक्स क्यों भर रहे हैं. तो इसीलिए टैक्स का डेफिनेशन में लिखा है कि टैक्स इज अ बर्डन. हाँ, टैक्स एक बर्डन है. करेक्ट. क्योंकि कोई भी इसे वॉलंटरी पे करना नहीं चाहता है. What is the definition of tax? It's a pecuniary burden which is laid upon individuals and landowners to support the government, a payment which is exacted by the legislative authority. So it is a forced payment. It is not that anybody will be happy, but it is required, and it is a payment which is exacted by legislative authority. Matlab there has to be a legislative authority. Without authority, you cannot make the payment. So there has to be a legislative authority. Matlab there should be a legislative power to collect such taxes. It is not a voluntary payment or donation, but it is an enforced contribution exacted pursuant to the legislative authority. Matlab, there has to be an authority. Now that authority comes from where? Where will the government get the authority to collect the taxes? Constitution, legislation, parliament, yes. Public, correct. Constitution is all for the people, by the people, of the people. So yes, legislature makes the laws. Correct. So legislature will make the law. That's why it is called as a by a legislative authority. So, and that power for the legislative authority comes from the constitution. So in the constitution, there has to be power for the central government or for the state government to collect any kind of a taxes. So that's the reason they will collect from the public, because they have that power. If any power is given to the center, a state cannot exercise that power. It has to be exercised by the center itself. And if any power is given to the state to collect any taxes, then the state itself will have to collect the taxes. The center cannot. Okay, so it is a legislative authority. From where this authority comes, it comes from the constitution, which we will read through in future slides. So it's a legislative authority. From that legislative authority, a payment is exacted by the government from the public. Now, what are the basic tax system in India which was working is after GST? After GST, what is working is you have classification of direct tax, indirect tax, and tax on tax. So you have direct tax. What does that comprise of? It comprises of income tax, corporate tax, which is the same income tax which is paid by the corporate, is called as corporate tax. And then you have agriculture tax. These are examples of direct taxes. Why? Why is it called direct taxes? Because the person who is earning the income, he himself is paying the taxes. That's why it is a direct tax. And when the payment is made by somebody and consumed by somebody, you go to a shop. Okay, now shopkeeper is selling some kind of a food products. Okay, now he sells food products, and who is paying for the food product? The consumer. I am the consumer. I am paying the food, buying the food product. I will pay it to the shopkeeper, and shopkeeper will pay to the government. What? The indirect tax, that is the GST part. So indirectly, the person who is paying is different, and the person who is consuming is indirectly paying it to the government through this shopkeeper. Okay, so the ultimate consumer who is consuming will take the burden, but it will be passed on through the seller. Right? The seller will collect the taxes from this customer and pay to the government. So that is indirect taxes. You have GST as one tax, and all other taxes have been gone, but you have one another indirect tax that is not waived away, which is that is called as a customs duty. What is customs duty? Customs duty is a duty which we pay while we are importing any goods outside India to India. So for any kind of imports, you will pay customs duty and GST. For local transactions within state, outside the state, with anything within India, then we will have to pay customs duty. Customs duty subsume नहीं हुआ है GST में. जब भी हम import करते हैं तब GST लगता है, और जब हम locally sale करते हैं तब सिर्फ GST लगता है. Okay, Shahid, do you have any question?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Your voice is not audible.
Good afternoon, sir. Hello.
Yes, good afternoon.
Sir, am I audible?
Yes, please. Yes, you are audible.
Sir, in basic tax system in India, the direct tax you have tell that it is divided into three parts: income tax, corporate tax, and agricultural tax. Isn't the agricultural income in India is that is exempted?
It is exempted, but the power is still there. The state governments do have the power to collect tax on agriculture produce, and if they want, they can collect taxes on agriculture. So that's the reason it is a power which is given, but none of the states have exercised it, because nobody wants to, get into political trouble by taxing agriculturists. That's the reason they have not taxed. But such power is there with the state government to tax the produce on agriculture.
Okay, sir.
Thank you. Okay, and then indirect taxes, as we had discussed, you have two types of indirect taxes, GST and customs. And then we have surcharge and cess, which are in the nature of tax on tax, which is still continuing. Bhumika, is there any changes for syllabus? No, in terms of syllabus, there's no change. Like taxation laws get evolved through the budget and other notifications. So from May 2024 to January 2025, there will be updates in terms of the statutory updates, in terms of notification circulars or update in the acts and rules that will be relevant. Otherwise, the syllabus remains the same. No. Can income tax be considered as a tax on tax? No. So we have to distinguish here what is a tax on tax and what is a tax on different subjects. Okay, that is called as a basic theory, wherein we have to understand if you are paying GST on some goods and you are buying it, and once you sell it, you're paying income tax. Okay, that does not mean that there is a dual tax on a transaction. The tax on the product is when you sell it. So that's called as an aspect theory. It is a very important theory called as an aspect theory, saying that what is the aspect on which you are paying the taxes. When you buy some goods and sell it, you are paying GST on the aspect of sale. And when you sell it and get income minus your expenses, you're paying income tax on your profit. So that is a aspect of income. Say, and first one is an aspect of sale. So there are two different aspects. So we will tell that there is no tax on tax in this case because you are taxing on two different aspects. If you're taxing on the same aspect, then you can say there is a double taxation. But in a scenario when you are buying agriculture produce or any kind of somebody was giving you example, can income tax also be considered tax on tax, as we pay GST also on that product? If you are buying and selling, you have to pay GST on the aspect of sale of that product, but whatever profit you will earn from that, on that you will pay income tax. So the aspects are different. So wherever possible, Zainab, that, and for all students, wherever you are going through the classes, please make notes of it, because this presentation will definitely be there. This is from my perspective, but from your perspective, how you prepare for your exams, that you are the best judge to know, right? So wherever possible, keep a book with you and try to write the main pointers. After the classes, when the presentations are shared, anything which you have missed out from writing it and have moved ahead, there also you can use the presentation and write it. Okay. Now, what is the difference between direct tax and indirect tax? Direct tax is a tax, the incidence of which is borne directly. Like if I go to Kaun Banega Karodpati and I earn something, I won a gift amount of 25 lakhs. Okay. Now I am the one who has earned it. It is my income and I will pay tax on it. It is an example of a direct tax. The incidence of the tax is borne directly by the person who has earned it. And in terms of indirect tax, the incidence of tax is shifted to another person. How is it shifted to another person? When I sell something, sell a product, the buyer, okay, incidence seller is nobody, is one who is making the profit, but he does not pay the taxes. He collects taxes from the consumer, and the burden of this taxes shifts to the consumer. Okay, जब मैं दुकान में जाके कुछ खरीदता हूँ, तब दुकानदार को जीएसटी नहीं लगेगा। दुकानदार क्या करेगा, जीएसटी चार्ज करेगा उसके इनवॉइस पे, लेकिन उसका भुगतान कौन कर रहा है, उसका भुगतान जो अल्टीमेट कंज्यूमर है वो कर रहा है। क्योंकि तो इसका मतलब है हर इनडायरेक्ट टैक्स ऐसे ही चलेगा, जो इनकम अर्न करता है वो अलग रहेगा और जो टैक्स पे करता है वो अलग आदमी रहेगा। तो बीच में जो सेलर या रजिस्टर्ड पर्सन है वो क्या करेगा, वो सिर्फ कलेक्ट करेगा टैक्सेस, उसके सेल, जो भी सेल करता है उसके ऊपर टैक्सेस करेगा और उस टैक्सेस को गवर्नमेंट को देगा। तो इंसिडेंस ऑफ टैक्स इज शिफ्टेड टू अनदर पर्सन इन केस ऑफ एन इनडायरेक्ट टैक्स। डायरेक्ट टैक्स में जिसका इनकम वही टैक्स भरेगा, इनडायरेक्ट टैक्स में जिसका इनकम नहीं है भी टैक्स भरेगा। क्यों? क्योंकि जब वो रजिस्टर हो जाता है जीएसटी में, तब वो जो भी कुछ सेल करेगा तो कस्टमर से कलेक्ट करेगा और वो गवर्नमेंट को पे करेगा। इसका मतलब है इनडायरेक्ट टैक्स। सेकेंड डिफरेंट क्या है, डायरेक्ट टैक्स इज अ प्रोग्रेसिव इन नेचर। मतलब direct tax is one which is progressive in nature. As and when your income progresses, your taxes also increases. Once your income increases, the tax also increases. That's why it's called as progressive in nature. Indirect tax is regressive in nature because irrespective of a person who buys it, let a beggar buy it or a rich man buy it, right? Irrespective of the income, the taxes are paid equally at the same percentage. If I buy a biscuit, on me also 5% late will be charged. If a person who is rich, he goes, for him also same rate. So as and when the income increases, the profit, the value increases, the tax increases. That's not the case. So that's the reason indirect tax is not called as progressive tax. It's called as regressive in nature. So direct tax are progressive in nature, but indirect tax are regressive in nature. Example of direct tax is income tax, and example of indirect tax is GST and customs duty. Please explain again where GST and customs duty is applicable. Good. So GST is Asha is applicable everywhere for sale of goods or services. It is applicable for goods or services both when you sell anything. Okay, when you provide some services, then GST only is applicable. But when you import some goods, okay, when you import some goods, there is a customs officer who's sitting there, right? When you come from your airport, there also it is a customs officer sitting there. And when you are importing any cargo, where passengers are not there, only these goods are getting imported through ships or getting imported through flights. Wherever it is getting imported, whatever mode it is getting imported, it may get imported. Once that is imported, that is there. On that clearance, once the goods are getting cleared, there the customs officer will clear it through a document called of bill of entry. And in that bill of entry, the customs duty percentage will be mentioned, and that has to be paid by the person who is importing it. So there they pay customs duty and GST both. So when they import any goods, they will pay GST customs duty and they will pay GST. Both of that will be paid. Regressive, can I explain? Yes, regressive means as and when my income grows, I pay more taxes. That is called as progressive. But as and when my income grows but my taxes doesn't grow, that is called as regressive. So दोनों एक ही कतार में जाते हैं कि मेरा इनकम बढ़ा तो मेरा इनकम टैक्स बढ़ा, उसे कहते हैं प्रोग्रेसिव। लेकिन जहां पे मेरा इनकम बढ़ा लेकिन मेरा टैक्स घट रहा है, उसे कहते हैं रिग्रेसिव। Okay, so GST is a indirect tax and it is a regressive tax in nature. But income tax is a tax as and when your income grows, you'll pay more taxes. That's a progressive tax in nature. Okay. Now we'll understand what are the taxes which have got subsumed under GST. Sir, Praveen is asking a very good question. Viewer, sir, you said when you import something, you will pay customs duty and GST. Now, what happens, sirs, when you export something? When I export something, then also I have to pay both the customs duty and GST. What do you think? No, yes. Everybody is saying no because on export we don't pay any taxes. In export you don't pay customs duty also, except so some specified goods which are restricted goods on which export duty is applicable. Very few. Only on that export duty is payable, but otherwise on any other export of goods or export of services, there is no customs duty and there is no GST. Okay, so on export we don't pay GST and we don't pay customs duty as well. We pay only on import. On importation, we pay the customs duty and the GST. Here. Now, what are the taxes which have got subsumed or bundled under GST? First is excise duty, central duty of excise, service tax, then surcharge and cess in respect of this excise duty, and ADE. What is ADE? ADE means additional duty of excise. So, apart from excise duty, additional duty of excise was levied. All of that is got subsumed under CGST Act. And other local VATs, right? Before GST on the sale portion, we used to pay VAT. Okay, that VAT is also subsumed. Purchase tax used to be there when you are purchasing any goods from one state to another state. From outside the state, if you're purchasing anything, then purchase tax was levied. That is also got subsumed. Any surcharge and cess in relation to this, then entry tax and luxury tax. These are the taxes so when you have to go, you used to go to theater before GST. The government used to collect a luxury tax. But now when you go, they will collect CGST and SGST. That's the reason all of this it's got subsumed. Subsumed मतलब ये सब taxes GST के अंदर आ गए हैं. ये जो आपको स्क्रीन पे दिख रहा है, ये सभी taxes GST के अंदर आ गए हैं. And और क्या taxes subsume हो गए? CVD and SAD. Okay, CVD stands for special countervailing duty and SAD stands for special additional duty or central sales tax, CST. All of this is got subsumed under the various GST laws, which is CGST, SGST, and IGST. Yes, Meena Mruta, you have some question? Yes, good afternoon.
So, before you said that indirect tax is regressive. So when we purchase some goods, if the cost of goods increases, then the tax will also be.
Your voice is not clear.
So now,
Not fully, not fully.
now, sir.
Yes, yes, better.
So before you said indirect taxes regressive in nature, na sir.
Correct.
Indirect taxes are nothing but the goods we have purchased like soap or any groceries like that, sir.
Okay.
But if the cost of these increases, automatic tax will also be increased, na sir. How it can be regressive?
Correct. So if the value of the product increases, then it increases. So suppose you're selling a soap. Okay. Now a person who's having affordability of to buy that soap, say the soap is for a value of 10 rupees. He is a rich man, he can pay taxes of say 50% also. And there's a poor man who cannot pay taxes. But still, from both these people, you're collecting taxes at say 18%. So what is happening is a person who is capable to pay more taxes, from him also you are collecting taxes at a lower rate. So that's why it is regressive in nature. It doesn't get collected based on the person's income capacity. It is a fixed rate. That's why it
Okay,
is
sir.
called it. This is a regressive in nature.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Bhavnagar, you can unmute and ask.
Hello, sir.
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, can you repeat ADE?
Additional duty of excise. Okay. So when I import any goods from outside India, what will I do? Suppose there is a country on which the like a typical case of a China products. I import some goods from China. The value of the products are so cheap that even if I do importation, pay the freight charges, still the value is less than a person who is producing that in India. Correct? So the person who is producing in India, his products will not get sold because people are buying imported products. Because why was another reason? Because when this person who is manufacturing in India, you were used to charge central excise duty. तो इसकी वजह से उसका प्राइसिंग बढ़ जाता था because he will collect the excise duty also from the customer. But when you are importing, if you do not charge excise duty, then the price of importation will be less and people will buy less number of products in India. So to manage that, to give that balance, whatever is the local excise duty, same excise duty was levied when you import. Customs duty तो लगेगा ही तभी और फिर ADE, which is additional duty of excise भी लगता था. Because to give the competition equal, so that local purchase करो तब भी excise duty लगेगा, आप import करो तब भी excise duty लगेगा, लेकिन excise duty की जगह उस पे नाम क्या आ जाता था? Additional duty of excise. ठीक है? So to bring in par the excise levy, additional duty of excise was levied.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sir, what is a tax on tax?
Like surcharge and cess, when you see, even in your income tax, when you have a tax computation, you will compute the total income. And then you consider on your slab rate, you will consider the tax payable. Okay. Now, on that tax, again, you have to pay another tax, which is a education cess. Right. So those are the examples of tax on tax.
Yes, thank you, sir.
Sir, good
Sir,
evening, sir.
tax
This
on
is Sai
tax
Charan.
is a double taxation?
Double taxation will come. Tax on tax is when you pay tax again on the tax component. Double taxation is when you pay taxes twice on the same component.
Okay, sir.
Sir, is this custom tax doesn't provide a scope for levying tax on exports itself?
It does levy, and they're given a schedule also saying that on what all goods export duty will be levied. In that, there are very few products which are regulated and restricted products, which is leviable to export duty. Apart from that, all the products are exempted, which means when you export, you don't have to pay duty on them.
That means the products we are exporting come into the scope of customs, but they are exempted. Is that right, sir?
Correct.
Or else,
Correct.
thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, good afternoon.
Sir, can you explain CVD and SAD?
Correct. So just now we were discussing, again, I will explain. When you import something on which you are paying customs duty, when you import something, we will pay customs duty, right? Now, if that same product is manufactured in India, the Indian government will collect customs excise duty from the manufacturer, and VAT also has to be paid on a product which is getting manufactured. So they will pay excise duty and they will pay VAT. But when we import, if we do not charge anything like this, then the importer will be at benefit. So that's the reason when we import something, you can import it, and then you will have to pay taxes in addition to the customs duty, which is equivalent to the central excise duty, is CVD. CVD means countervailing duty, and SAD means special additional duty. To the extent of the VAT, what you are paying, that levy will be levied on the imported goods. So when you import any goods, you pay customs duty, you used to pay central excise duty, and you used to pay even a tax which is equivalent to the VAT, which is called a special additional duty. So these three taxes was levied on the importation of goods. But now all of that has gone. When you import, you will pay customs duty and you will pay a integrated goods and service tax, which is IGST. So you'll pay IGST and you will pay the customs duty. Customs duty credit is not available. On the import IGST portion, credit is available.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Okay, last question, Vishnu Priya, then we'll proceed further. Please tell me your question. Okay, if there's no question, we'll proceed further. So we understood what is direct tax, what is indirect tax, and what is the difference between two. Then we understood what are the taxes which have got subsumed under GST. Now we'll see what are the features of indirect tax, which is very, very simple. What are the features of indirect tax? It's a tax on commodities and services. Like income tax, it's a tax on income, but indirect tax is a tax on commodities, that is the products or services. Then there is a shifting of burden. The burden is getting shifted from the supplier to the consumer, and if the consumer also distributes this further, then it's getting from him also to another person. So there is a shifting of burden in indirect taxes. Then there is no perception of direct pinch, because anyways we will buy biscuits. The MRP will be so very less that they will not charge anything about it. They will not charge anything about it. The price itself will be all inclusive of taxes. So we are so very used to buying things with indirect taxes, so we don't feel the pinch. Then it is inflationary. Why inflationary? Because you are buying something and you have to pay some extra money also for it. So that's why it is inflationary in nature. It increases the inflation. It increases the pricing of the product. That's why it is inflationary. Then it has a wide tax base. Any person who is crossing a basic minimum threshold limit of 10 lakhs or a basic exemption limit of 20 lakhs, they will get registered. So that increases the base, that increases the reach of the indirect taxes on various people. Then it promotes social welfare. How does it promote social welfare? By taxing those goods which are too, by levying extra or higher taxes on those goods which you should not buy, like tobacco, liquor, right? On that, you should not pay anything. Okay, so it promotes the social welfare by doing this, that it taxes on the sin goods. They're called as sin goods, like tobacco, gutka. These are all called as sin goods. On this, you are taxing extra tax and you are promoting social welfare. Then it is regressive in nature. A lot of things have been discussed saying that why it was regressive, because one side it goes up and the taxes goes down. That's why it's a regressive in nature. Last thing is, it is an important source of revenue. The government's revenue from direct taxes was major, but for the past 2 to 3 years, you can see that the contribution of indirect tax to the overall taxation is higher. Okay, let's proceed further. Now, how did the GST evolve over the years? How did it move? Is what we will see in this slide. We will take a break after this slide so that I will keep you informed that in all our sessions, how it goes is it will be for a continuous period of 2.5 hours, right? So to not to get bored and not to feel tired, we will have around 10 minutes break in between our classes. So based on the topic, we are in the flow, we will complete it and then take a break. Typically, it will be between 3:30 or 3:40. That will be the time. So how did this GST get started? Some dates over here are very relevant for you, so you will have to remember them. I will tell you which are those dates. Firstly, the Vajpayee government started discussion about GST way back in 2000. Okay, in 2000 itself, there were a lot of discussion on GST. So they set up a empowered committee. What did the Empower Committee do? They did research saying that should GST be brought in? What is the objective of GST? Will the GST be beneficial to the country? Will the GST beneficial to the economy? Will it be beneficial to the public at large? So a committee was set up and then they were working on it. Then later on, they came up with a report and things, but none of that progressed. Then 2006 came in and then in the announcement to GST for the first time was made by the Union Finance Minister that it will be coming from 2010. They made an announcement that it will come in 2010, but you will see that even in 2010, the GST did not come in because it involved lot of consent from everybody. They didn't get that consent. So by 2009 also, they were only first discussion papers that this empowered committee which was set up, it released a discussion paper saying that this should be the structure of the GST. ठीक है, तो हम क्या कर रहे हैं यहाँ पे हम समझ रहे हैं कि कौन से साल कब से जीएसटी के पहले, जीएसटी तो 2017 में आया था, लेकिन इसके पहले बैकग्राउंड में क्या क्या कठिनाई हुई थी, किस किस चीजों को पार करके जीएसटी लाना पड़ा, क्योंकि बात 2000 से ही चल रही थी कि जीएसटी लाने में, लेकिन इतनी दिक्कत थी कि वो 2000 से नहीं ला पाए. Okay, then 2011, what happened? The bill was passed. So before bringing any law, before making any change, you have to get a consent, right? हमने देखा था, we had asked, no, saying that it should be through a legislative empowerment. It should be empowered through the legislative. Before GST came in, the constitution did not have any mention of GST, or it did not give any power to collect GST to either the central or the state government. Central government had power to collect service tax on services, and state government had power to collect VAT on the sale of goods. अब दोनों अलग अलग है, लेकिन हमको ऐसा लॉ लेके आना था जो दोनों को मिला दे कि ऐसा टैक्स लेके आएंगे जो अगर मैं सेल करूंगा तब सेंटर को भी कुछ अमाउंट जाएगा और स्टेट को भी कुछ अमाउंट जाएगा। वैसा प्रोविजन तो जीएसटी में था ही, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में था ही नहीं। तो फिर क्या करेंगे, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन को ही चेंज कर देंगे। देयर वाज नो मेंशन इन द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ one levy collected by two governments. There was only one levy, one government. Service tax was a levy of the central government, and it was central government's authority to collect taxes on that. Then state government's authority was to collect taxes on the VAT, and it used to collect it. So there was no combination saying that, okay, one transaction will happen on that, center also will get some taxes, state also will get some taxes. This kind of empowerment was not there in the constitution. That's the reason the constitution's amendment was very important. So in 2011, the government brought in the constitution amendment bill, and they said, okay, let's get it passed. Okay, let's get it passed and get it approved. But what happened? There is a time limit for a bill. Once a bill is passed, it goes to the Lok Sabha, then it goes to the Rajya Sabha, then the president gives its consent, then it becomes an act. Until then, it is not an act, it cannot be implemented. So for any act to come, it has to be a bill. Bill has to get consent by the lower house and upper house. And once the consent comes, then will the law act, the bill become an act. So in 2011, a bill was passed, 115th Amendment Bill, and subsequently it was lapsed. Then in 2013, GSTN, Goods and Service Tax Network, a private company was set up to provide the IT backbone for the GST. Before the bill was passed itself, the government was so very confident, and they had formed a company called as GST Network. Then in 2014, there was another attempt to bring the Constitution Amendment Bill. This time, the 122nd Constitution Bill was passed. Earlier, 115. So what happened after 115 to 122? There will be other bills also, right? So there were other bills which was passed, and the Constitution 102nd Amendment Bill was introduced in the Lok Sabha when in 2014. Then that bill had received its consent, and in August 2016, the Constitution 101st Amendment Act was enacted. So the bill got converted into act. The bill was laid down in 2014, and it was passed as an act in 2016. So the act came to be called as a Constitution 101st Amendment Act. Okay, so it means that yes, GST will definitely come. In August 2016, we had sure shot clear that yes, the GST will come in, because the main hurdle of change in constitution was brought in here, and it was recognized that yes, in 2016 that the Constitution Amendment Act was enacted. Yes, yes. One minute. अभी visible है? Okay. So this was the slide which we were discussing at as various point of times, 2000, 2006, 2009, 11, 13, 14. And finally, in 2016, the Constitution 101st Amendment Act was enacted. Then the GST Council was set up, and the GST Council had started meeting. On the first GST Council meeting was held on September 2016. And then in March 2017, the GST Council recommended that we will have 1, 2, 3, 4 acts. One is CGST Act, second is SGST Act, then we will have UTGST Act and Compensation Cess Act. Okay, we will understand these acts in detail, but for now, understand that the GST Council recommended this, and in April 2017, all these acts were passed also. Okay, and then in May 2017, GST Council recommends the rates and the rules. First was that constitutional amendment, that main hurdle was gone. After that is gone, then proceeding further, the laws were enacted and the rules were passed and the GST rates was decided in June 2017. Okay, all the states except Jammu and Kashmir passed their SGST Act. So one is passing of the CGST Act by the Parliament, and then each state also had to pass this. So the each of those states also had passed the respective state acts, which was similar as the CGST Act, but except that wherever central was appearing, there they had to mention their state's name. So that state, all the states had passed by June 2017, and on 1st July 2017, GST was launched. So effective from 1st July 2017, you'll see that GST is effective. Later on, within 8 days, the SGST Act was passed by the Jammu and Kashmir, and Jammu and Kashmir also had its state GST Act. Earlier, Jammu and Kashmir was not supporting, but within 8 days, they also realized, and that parliament, that legislative, the state legislative also passed this. 13th commemoration, it is wrong. It is 2017, 30th June 2017. Okay, so that is the journey of GST. Okay. Sin goods are taxed in GST. Yeah. What is sin goods? Basically, cigarettes, tobacco, all of that are called as sin goods. And these goods are taxed at the highest rate, which is equivalent to 28%. Okay. If you have any more questions, please pose it. We'll take a break here for 10 minutes. It is approximately 3:40. We'll catch up at 3:50. Welcome back, students. So there are some questions which have been posted. So you're able to see the slides right now. Sir, in book it is written GST is leviable goods except sin goods. No, only on alcoholic liquor for human consumption is outside GST. But apart from that, other goods, Hardik, GST is leviable. We will discuss that. Like tobacco products and those things, GST is leviable. And we'll come to a slide wherein on what goods, what taxes is levied that you will get clarity on. Fuel is also out, yes. We'll consider those goods. Okay, so we understood the background of GST, how it came and how it flew in. Now, what else we need to know about GST? GST is also called as a VAT in some countries. So when you call as VAT, VAT is not just a word. It is the meaning for value added tax. So any tax which charges tax on the value addition. नहीं माही, आपको स्क्रीनशॉट लेने की जरूरत नहीं है, ये नोट्स हम शेयर करेंगे आपको. So we are talking about value added tax. GST also is a type of value added tax. Why? Because it is a tax which is levied on the value addition. I am buying a product and I'm selling it. The tax ultimately government will get only on the value addition. That's why it's called a value addition tax. So it is called as GST in India. It is called GST in some other countries. In few other countries, GST is called as a VAT. Okay, it is a value added tax. Then GST was introduced in more than 160 countries. Prior to this introduction in India, GST, India would have been like outcasted because it did not have such a robust GST. So they quickly brought in this GST in India too. France was the pioneer in GST, which they brought in way back in 1954 itself. Most countries follow unified GST, matlab one nation, one GST. But in a country like India, country like Brazil and Canada, they follow dual GST because the federal and the state system is different, right? Here, the central government and state government is different. Similarly, in Canada and Brazil, there is a federal system and the state system. So when there are two systems in such countries, dual GST has to operate. Because if all the taxes is collected by the central government, then how will they allocate to the states? They can't do equal allocation because each state's capacity, each state's production is different, each state's revenue is different. So you cannot divide it equally. That's the reason state will have to have their own tax collection mechanism. That's why we have this dual GST. How is it dual GST? When you buy something within the state, you will pay two types of taxes. One is called as central goods and service tax, and another is called as a state goods and service tax. So the central portion goes to the central government and the SGST portion goes to the state. So that's why it's a dual GST model. Okay. Concept of GST in India, it's a value added tax. Firstly, we know this, that it's a value added tax. That is a tax on the value addition. How is the tax on value addition? I will explain it through an Excel on the end of this particular slide. Then it is a continuous change of tax credits, which means once a seller sells it, the buyer buys it, he gets the credit of the tax which is levied by the seller. Okay, I'll repeat. A seller sells some goods. He will charge tax on his sale value. On that tax, what is being charged is a credit for the receiver. And when the receiver sells it, he will charge GST. That becomes a credit for the receiver. मैं कुछ चीज आपको बेचता हूं, मैं GST लगा के बेचूंगा, वो आपके लिए क्रेडिट हो जाएगा. और जब उसी चीज को आप दोबारा बेचते हो, तब आप GST चार्ज करके बेचोगे, तब वो थर्ड पार्टी जो कस्टमर है आपका, उसको क्रेडिट मिल जाएगा, वैसे ही ये चेन चलते रहेगा. सो दैट्स वे इट इज मेंशन दैट इट्स अ कंटिन्यूअस चेन ऑफ टैक्स क्रेडिट्स. जब एक रजिस्टर्ड पर्सन दूसरे रजिस्टर्ड पर्सन को बेचेगा तब वो क्रेडिट शुरू होगा और वैसे ही चलते रहेगा. कब तक? तब तक जब एंड कस्टमर या अनरजिस्टर्ड पर्सन बीच में आ जाएगा तब वो क्रेडिट चेन टूट जाएगा. सो द क्रेडिट फ्लोज from one registered person to another registered person, and it stops at a point of time when there is an unregistered person buying in the chain or a ultimate consumer buying in the chain, and he does not pass on that credit further. That's when the credit is stopped. Until then the credit continues. Okay, then there is a burden borne by the final consumer. Whatever you are selling, you are a manufacturer, you will sell to a wholesaler. Wholesaler will not consume it. He will again sell it to a distributor. Distributor will sell it to a retailer. Retailer ultimately sells it to the consumer. And till then the chain flows and the burden is not borne by any of these people. The burden is ultimately borne by the consumer who will consume that goods. Then there is no cascading of taxes, which means there is no tax on tax, or there is no tax on one aspect, right? So in the concept of GST in India, it is a value added tax. There is a continuous chain of tax credits. Tax is borne by the ultimate consumer and there is no cascading of taxes, which means when I do any kind of activity, whatever taxes I charge, that is a fungible tax, which means it's a creditable tax and it's a benefit which the receiver can claim it. There is no blockage. So there is no cascading of taxes. Yes, Kiran, please ask your question.
सर cascading of taxes और double taxation same है क्या?
थोड़ा फर्क है. डबल टैक्सेशन में क्या होता है कि सेम एस्पेक्ट पे दो बार टैक्स लगता है, लेकिन कैस्केडिंग ऑफ टैक्सेस में एक एग्जांपल दूंगा so that you will understand clearly. पहले before GST, when I used to manufacture some goods, the value was 100 rupees. On that, I will charge excise duty of 10 rupees. Okay, so 100 on that excise duty is 10 rupees, 110. And I am selling this goods, so I have to charge VAT also. So I will charge VAT at 15%. Now that 15% will not be on the base value of 100. It will be on a value of sale price plus excise duty. Okay, so it will be on 110 on that 15%. So this is called as a cascading of taxes. So when I levy tax on another tax, I levy VAT on the excise duty. That is an example of a cascading of taxes. Okay, I'll explain that with the example. You'll understand it clearly. How do we do VAT and GST calculation? I will share the Excel sheet. Is the Excel sheet visible? Yeah. Kiran, is your query resolved?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Vishnu Priya? Okay. So now let us understand what used to happen. Yes, yes, please.
Sir, what is the difference and improvement between VAT and GST?
Correct. We'll understand that with this example, wherein before VAT came, before the GST came in, what was the impact and how it used to impact the consumer is what we will see here. Okay. So we'll go through a scenario of pre-GST. Okay. In both the
Hello,
cases,
sir.
yes, please.
Sir, tax on tax and cascading effect both are same.
Yeah, to some extent, both are same because you levy tax on tax and you don't get the credit. That is called as cascading effect. But when you just have tax on tax, that's only called as tax on tax. If you get the credit, then it's fine. But if you don't get the credit, it's called as a cascading of taxes.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So here, if you see, a pre-GST scenario will take wherein a manufacturer, he sells a product at 10,000, right? Now, he would have purchased lot of raw materials for this, right? Now, we are not getting into his credit. We are just seeing a scenario where he's selling for 10,000 rupees. On that, there was an excise duty. Excise duty was levied on all manufactured goods. So he's a manufacturer. On his manufacturing part, excise duty was at 10%. So he will levy 10% on the sale value. So the sale price becomes 11,000 rupees. Then he is selling it. So even though here where we were saying that aspect theory, on the same product, can two taxes be levied? Yes. One is on the aspect of manufacture and another is on the aspect of sale. So on the same product, two taxes was levied pre-GST. One was on the aspect of manufacture. Second was on the aspect of sale. Now, when I sell this, VAT was at 14.5%. Fine. So I should levy VAT at 14.5% on the 10,000 value, right? But that was never used to happen. VAT was saying that whatever price you are getting after the excise duty, on that you pay me VAT. First of all, it's the tax on tax, or it's a dual tax, because on the same 10,000 rupees, I am paying excise duty also and I'm paying VAT also. But the base on which I will charge VAT is not the selling price, but the selling price plus excise duty. This is called as cascading of taxes. Clear? So I was supposed to charge VAT at 14.5% on 10,000 plus excise duty is what I have to charge. So the ultimate sale value was 10,000. I will collect from my distributor 10,000 plus 1,000 plus 1,595 of VAT, and I will totally collect how much? 12,595. Now for a distributor is not a manufacturer. A manufacturer is one who manufactures the goods and gives it to the distributor. So distributor will again distribute it to a further retailer. Now distributor's sale price was 15,000 rupees. Will he charge excise duty? No, he will not charge excise duty because he's not a manufacturer. Fine, no excise duty, but he's selling the goods. So he will charge 14.5% VAT. He will charge this. And his selling price to the retailer was 17,175. Now, 2,175, what he collects from the retailer, will he pay full? No, he will not pay the full value because he has input tax credit. What credit? He has credit of excise duty of 1,000. He's paid two types of taxes. He's paid excise duty and he's paid VAT. Can he claim credit of this excise duty? He cannot. Why he cannot? Because he is not registered under excise. He is not a manufacturer. So this will be his extra tax burden. Okay. This was not a fungible credit because excise credit can be claimed only by another manufacturer. Now he is not a manufacturer, so he cannot claim the credit. So 1,000 rupees is his cost. Now, but the VAT, what was charged, that can be claimed as a credit. So he will claim the credit of 1,595 and pay to the VAT as a government, to the government only 580 rupees. Okay. Now, when the distributor sells it to the retailer and retailer again sells it, he will sell it at 18,000 rupees and he will charge VAT. Then he will get the credit of this 2,175, what was charged by the distributor, and then he will sell it. Ultimately, cost to the consumer is 18,000 plus 2,610, which is 20,610. So this is how the taxes of excise duty and VAT and the credit of VAT used to work pre-GST regime. Okay. Now, post-GST, what used to happen? Post-GST, a manufacturer will sell the product, say, at the same price of 10,000 rupees. Excise duty removed. No excise duty now. All the pre-GST taxes except customs is got subsumed under GST. So once everything is there under GST, I will not charge excise duty. Manufacturer will charge GST. There are various rates of GST. For our explanation, I have taken 5% rate. So GST will be at 5%. He will charge GST on 10,000 because that is the base value. On 10,000, he will charge 500 rupees and he will sell it at 10,500. Now, distributor will sell it at 14,000 rupees. He will charge again GST at 5% and credit he will get of the taxes what is being charged by the manufacturer. So if you reduce that, he will pay 200 rupees to the government. Correct? Why he paying only 200? Because we said that GST is a tax on value addition. How much is the value is adding? He's adding value to the extent of 14,000 minus 10,000 only. Because 10,000, he's not doing anything. That was the value which was added by the manufacturer. He is adding a value to the extent of 4,000 rupees. Now, on that 4,000 rupees, if I do 5%, it should come as 200, which is coming here in an indirect manner. Correct? So on 14,000, he is collecting full charge and then reducing the tax what he has indirectly paid to the government through the manufacturer. So once you reduce that, ultimately 200 is what he will pay to the government. Now, when the distributor gives it to the retailer, the sale value is of the retailer is 17,000 rupees. He will charge GST at 5%. Here again, he will get the credit of 700 rupees. And the cost to the consumer ultimately is 17,000 plus 850, which is charged by the retailer. Understood this? Yes, Vishnu Priya? So if the manufacturer exported the goods, then ED will be extra burden for him.
Sir,
Yes,
good
please.
afternoon. Sir.
Yes.
Sir, the excise duty is the one type of indirect tax.
Correct. Excise duty was a type of indirect tax.
Okay, sir. Then this pre-GST column, why the charge of excise duty is not transferred to distributor, retailers, and customers?
Correct. So, unlike GST, excise duty was a levy which was levied by the central government. Okay. And VAT was levied by the state government. So, central government cannot give credit to the state. It can give credit to another dealer who is having excise registration. So this distributor is only a distributor. He will not be registered under excise. So he cannot claim the credit. So there were two different types of indirect taxes. VAT was one type of indirect tax. Excise duty was another type of indirect tax. So excise duty credit will be given only to another manufacturer. If I am a manufacturer and you are a manufacturer, I am selling something to you, then you could have claimed. But if this distributor is not a manufacturer, he is not registered under excise, this excise duty he cannot claim. That was the difficulty before the GST. So that's the reason they wanted GST to come in so that any taxes you want us to pay, we'll pay, but give us credit. That's why GST came in and started giving credit to everybody.
Thank you, sir.
Asta, your question?
Yes, sir. Sir, distributor and retailer, how they are deciding the sales value?
See, we are operating in a free economy. Okay,
Yes,
where
yes.
the pricing is decided by the seller based on the demand for the product. So they will decide their sale price. Government will not control their sale price. We are not under a controlled economy. They will decide their sale price.
Okay, sir.
Pre-GST also and post-GST also.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes, Hardik.
Sir, this 580 rupees, this credit will be not available to the distributor.
580 is the difference between the VAT what is collecting on sale and the input what he has. The full input of the VAT he is claiming it. He is getting the full credit of the VAT. 580 is the ultimate amount what he will pay to the government.
580 is the ultimate amount. Okay, sir.
Correct. See, he's collected more than what he's paid. Differential he will have to ultimately pay to the government.
Sir, can I ask something?
Yes, please.
Is selling price fixed by the government or seller can charge anything what he want?
He can charge whatever he wants. It is not controlled by you. Yes, Adeshri, only manufacturer will levy the excise duty, nobody else. Yes, Praveen?
Sir, I have a doubt, sir.
Yes.
Same in this pre-GST, the 17,175 rupees is the price which is sold to the retailer, right, sir?
Correct.
So the minus 1,595 is his input credit. So what is this balance 15,580 amount which you have mentioned?
That is the mention of the costing, basically. So this will not be relevant for our understanding here. It's only for his costing purposes. He will determine his costing saying that 15,000 is his sale price. His input price is 11,000 because 1,595 is getting the credit. 11,000 is his costing and he is selling at 15,000, which means his margin is 15,000 minus 11,000, which is 4,000. But 15,580 is not a relevant portion for our consideration here.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, sir.
Yes, please.
After postpaid में retailers में after deducting 700, it should be 17,150 ना?
Correct. I've not considered that because that is not relevant. Like how Praveen was asking, is there any relevance of this? There's no relevance because ultimately sale price is the relevant and the GST what is charged is relevant. And how much taxes is he paying to the government? The retailer pays, he collects 850 from the customer and 700 rupees is already paid to the distributor. So for government, how much will he pay to the government? 850 minus 700, that is 150 is what he will pay to the government.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, sir.
Yes, please.
What is the main difference between pre-GST and post-GST, sir?
Taxes. First is excise duty credit. What was available is what was not available is now available. Okay, that is the first difference. Second, all the tax credits we will get under post GST. In pre GST, we will not get credit of excise duty. We will not get credit of service tax. Only if VAT is charged, we will get the credit under VAT. If service tax is charged, I will get credit only if I'm a service tax registered person. So many lacunas were there, which used to increase the pricing of the product. In our example, 20,000 was the price to the customer. In post GST, the price is reduced. So the impact to the customer is, ultimate customer is, he is getting the product at a price which is less to the extent of 2,760 rupees. He's paying less price for the same product in post GST. Yes, Hardik.
Sir, one small doubt. Sir, in distributor in post GST, the 200 rupees is the value addition tax that will also be paid by the distributor to the government. Is it true, sir?
Correct. It is paid by the distributor, but if you see closely, distributor is not paying it from his own pocket. Correct. When he raises the
Yes, sir.
invoice, he will raise an invoice with GST. He will collect it from the retailer. So the burden is shifting from the distributor to the retailer, and retailer pays that tax to the distributor.
Okay, sir. And sir, the 150 rupees of the retailer will be collected by the ultimate consumer.
Correct. Correct.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sir, distributor retailer are not paying her pocket, so consumer pay her
Yes.
pocket.
Correct.
Huh.
Correct. If more channels of distributor are there, that much people will get added. Kanchi, you are also right. Correct. Ultimately, whatever you buy is ultimately paid by the consumer itself. Yes, Karan? Okay. So once we are understood this, now let's proceed with the other slides. So we understood clearly what is the impact of cascading effect and everything. Now, why did the GST come in? There were a lot of deficiency in that VAT system, right? Pre-GST, whatever that system was there of combination of SENVAT. SENVAT means excise. The credit of excise was called as SENVAT, and sales tax, state VAT. These two systems had lot of deficiencies. That's the reason the new GST law came in. So what was the deficiencies? Firstly, on a single transaction, two taxes were levied on few products. Double taxation of single transaction as goods and services. Example, software. Now, software is a goods or service. Software is a service. Most of you are saying software is a service because we think it is intangible, so it is a service. But everything what is intangible does not mean it's a service. Okay. What is a service is sure. Service means anything other than goods. That's what GST defines. So we cannot conclude that software is a service ultimately. VAT regime, they used to charge, say that no, it's a product like Tally software. Tally software, by the name software, doesn't mean that it is a service because it is a packaged software. They don't have to do any customization. Everything is ready. Just you have to install it on your system and it will work. So where is the service portion in it? It is a ready-made service. It is an intangible product, but if you give that product key and put it in your system, it will work. So that's why that doesn't mean that if it is a intangible, it is always a service. An intangible thing can also be goods. So there was a lot of confusion. So people who were selling software, they did not want to take that burden. They were charging both VAT and service tax on that software. Also on construction services. On construction service, also same confusion, whether you are selling goods or whether you are providing services. So you used to levy both VAT and service tax. So that was a big deficiency. On the same transaction, double taxation used to be paid. Second deficiency was there was no SENVAT after manufacturing stage. We have seen in our Excel sheet, right? A manufacturer charges excise duty, but that tax was not creditable. उसका credit किसी को भी नहीं मिलता था. So that SENVAT on the excise was not claimable as a credit by any person other than the manufacturer. Then no set off of SENVAT and VAT. If I used to charge VAT to a manufacturer, he will not get credit of that to offset against his excise duty. And excise duty ka credit, a VAT dealer will not get it. So there was no set off of VAT and SENVAT and VAT. Then there was non-integration of VAT and service tax also. If I am a service provider, right? I am a company secretary, I provide services, right? I will charge service tax and I will buy some products. What will I buy? I will buy printer. On printer, on papers, what I will pay? I will pay VAT, right? It is used for my business. I should get the credit, but I never used to get the credit because a VAT credit can be claimed by a dealer who is registered under VAT. But I will not register under VAT because I am registered under service tax. I am not selling any goods, but some goods are required ultimately for my services, no? So that credit I was not getting under the pre-GST regime. So there was no integration between VAT and service tax. Which government used to get the excise duty? The central government used to get the excise duty. Then what is the full form of SENVAT? It is called as Central Value Added Tax. Central Value Added Tax is the full form of SENVAT. Then there were other state levies apart from VAT. There was luxury tax, entertainment tax. Whenever I pay luxury tax, I will never use to get the credit. Unlike VAT, the credit on my VAT sale, I will get it. But luxury tax and entertainment tax, they were never creditable. Bas ab luxury tax pay kar lo. Even if you're using for your business, the luxury tax credit you will never get. Okay, so this luxury tax and entertainment tax was a tax always. Then there was cascading of taxes. How? By levy of non-VATable CST. Now, VAT is one which is levied when I do a transaction within the state. But if I do a transaction from one state to another state, I will not charge VAT. I will charge something called as a central sales tax. And this central sales tax was never creditable. I never used to get the credit of this central sales tax. So that was adding to my tax burden. That is another effect of cascading of taxes. Then inclusion of SENVAT in the value of imposing VAT, like how we had seen the first part, a manufacturer charges excise duty. On that, again, VAT was charged. So these were the impact of the cascading of taxes. So many deficiencies, so many extra tax burden. All of this has led to the evolution of GST. Full form of SVAT is state VAT. दो तरह के VAT होते थे ना पहले. एक है state VAT and on the excise duty the credit जो मिलना चाहिए था that was called as a SENVAT. Luxury tax for any luxurious place you stay in a hotel. Okay, then the hotelier used to charge something called as a luxury tax. Cascading means tax on tax, yes. What is meant by set off of VAT? Set off means uska credit milna. I never used to get the credit of that. That was called as set off. Set off, will I get the credit of that? That was the meaning of set off of SENVAT. Yes, Sumit.
Hi, sir.
Kiran? Yeah, please.
Sir, what is cess and can I input claim of cess?
What? Cess?
Sorry.
No. Cess credit you can offset only against cess. Under GST cess are you talking or pre-GST?
Sir,
Yes, please.
सर डबल टैक्सेशन का मतलब एक ही गुड्स पे दो बार टैक्स लगाना होता है.
Correct.
ओके.
सर
Yes.
सर जब हम वैट कैलकुलेट करते हैं तो जो जैसे मैन्युफैक्चरर ने वैट कैलकुलेट किया था एंड गुड्स ट्रांसफर हो गए डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर के पास, देन डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर कैलकुलेट द वैट. While calculating the VAT, the distributor deducting the amount of VAT which is calculated by the manufacturer. Then how this amount is not set up? VAT amount is not set up.
VAT amount is set off. Excise duty is not set off. VAT is getting set off in this case.
So in third point, it is writing no set off of SAN VAT and VAT.
Correct. Excise duty. Excise duty, once I pay, it is called as SEN VAT. Now that excise duty cannot be set off with my VAT is what is mentioned in the third point.
Okay, sir.
हेलो सर. सर वो जैसे एक्साइज ड्यूटी जब मैन्युफैक्चर हुआ गुड तो ले लगता है, फिर उसके बाद सेंट्रल और सीएसटी सेनवेट और वैट लगेगा. मतलब जो स्टेट को सेल करते हैं प्री जीएसटी, मतलब प्री जीएसटी लगता है स्टेट को वैट, और जब सेंट्रल मतलब इंटर स्टेट सेल करते तब सीएसटी.
Correct. Correct. और जब वो मैन्युफैक्चर करेगा तो वो सेंट्रल एक्साइज भी चार्ज करेगा. फर्स्ट सेंट्रल एक्साइज चार्ज करेगा, उसके बाद अगर इंटरस्टेट कर रहा है तब सीएसटी चार्ज करेगा, और इंट्रा स्टेट चार्ज कर रहा है, इंट्रा स्टेट सेल कर रहा है तो फिर वैट लगाएगा.
ओके सर. Sir, it means pre-GST if state मतलब इंट्रा स्टेट जब सेल होता था तो सिर्फ स्टेट गवर्नमेंट ही कलेक्ट करती थी जीएसटी, और जब इंटर स्टेट होता था ओनली सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट को ही जाता था टैक्स.
करेक्ट.
ओके.
Fatima, your question?
Give
Yeah.
an example of double taxation.
Need an example for double taxation.
Yes, sir.
So the example of a manufacturer selling goods and he is charging excise duty as well as VAT is an example of double taxation on a same transaction.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Sir, in the fifth point, luxury tax and entertainment tax are calculated separately.
See, if I'm selling you some goods, I will charge you VAT and you will get the credit of it. Okay. But if a hotelier is charging luxury tax, that credit, it was only separately and it was not included as even though it was charged by the state government, that luxury tax credit I never used to get. So it was considered as a non-inclusive creditable tax. It was always separate. It was always a cost for me. I never used to get the credit of the luxury tax and entertainment tax.
Okay, sir. Every essential गुड्स के ऊपर जो टैक्स लगता है वो कम होता है और लग्जरी टैक्स पर लग्जरी गुड्स पर ज्यादा होता है, ऐसा ही होता है ना?
हाँ, जो एसेंशियल कमोडिटीज होते हैं उसके ऊपर रेट ऑफ टैक्स कम रहेगा और जो लग्जरी गुड्स रहेंगे उसके ऊपर रेट ऑफ टैक्स ज्यादा रहेगा.
Sir, is there luxury tax and
So luxury tax and entertainment tax was there pre-GST. Post-GST, they are not there.
So what is the fixed percentage of the luxury tax or entertainment tax?
No, there was no fixed percentage. Each state used to have their own luxury tax and entertainment tax separate rates.
Sir, lottery tickets also comes under this.
Lottery tickets, movie tickets were all part of that entertainment tax.
Thank you, sir.
सर जीएसटी अकाउंट बना हो तो पैसे रिफंड होते हैं ना, चाहे वो लग्जरी गुड्स हो या फिर एसेंशियल.
वो हम डिस्कस करेंगे जब रिफंड का डिस्कस कर रहे हैं. अभी कंफ्यूज हो जाओगे आप.
ओके.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, is there any double taxation after the GST has come into existence?
To some extent, yes, because if you see the cess component, that is a extra tax on the luxury products. Suppose if you're buying a car, you will pay 28% GST and you will pay 12% of cess also. So to that extent, on some products, there is a double taxation to that extent.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Sir, is there any
Sir,
maximum
is
percentage
any
which
tax
nobody
is
can
collected
charge?
for integrated goods in VAT?
Yeah, one by one.
Sir, is there a fixed amount of maximum percentage that above nobody can charge?
On what luxury tax is it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, luxury tax, they had some limits. Each state said that this is the maximum percentage. So they could go up to 20% also.
Sir, it is not set by the central government.
No, it is set by the state government.
Okay, sir.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, what about tax on gambling and the income from tax, like a profit from gambling? How it will be?
You're saying pre-GST or post-GST?
Both, sir, both.
See, earlier gambling and things was not under the purview of the taxation. But now under GST, very recently they made this amendment. Earlier, gambling, betting were all part of the concept called as actionable claims, and they were all treated as goods. Okay, so they were used to. There was leviability of GST on that, but there was confusion on what value should you charge GST. Whether you should charge on the value of the bid what you do. So there is one thing was to get into gambling, you have to pay some entry amount. Okay, say 1 lakh rupees, you do a bet gambling activity, but you will win only say 100 rupees. So will you have to pay GST on 100 rupees or that full 1000 rupees? Or the person who is facilitating this, he will charge something on that value you have to pay. So there was a lot of confusion. The government authorities used to say that on full 1000 rupees, you have to pay GST. Then there were a lot of cases, people who were dealing with this went to the court saying that the value is not correct. So then they made an amendment in the GST law itself, and they said that GST will be payable on the upfront amount what you are paying. So then it was all legalized, and the law itself has a provision now which says that GST will be leviable on that value of that betting of the bid amount what you are giving. That is the value on which you have to pay GST. So that's why GST on gambling is settled now.
Sir, what about in case if I earn like 2 lakhs from the 1 lakh what I invested on the betting, sir? So for that 1 lakh, I will be paying the tax. Now, what about this 2 lakh? Will it comes under income tax, or it will be separately? It will be taxed.
The winnings, it is your income on which you will pay the income tax. On that, you will not pay GST again, because it's a return
Okay.
on your value what you had invested.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Am I audible, sir?
Yes, please. Last question.
Why we need tax on tax in pre-GST era?
Sorry.
Why we need tax on tax in pre-GST era?
Pre-GST era. So it was not that it was always intended like that. It was just that the central government also wanted their share and state government also wanted their share. So both of them were never compromising on the transaction. That's the reason the dealers ended up paying 2 type of taxes on one transaction. Okay. Now let's proceed further. So we understood what are the deficiencies in the VAT system which led to introduction of GST. Now, framework of GST saying that what are the important factors under GST? Firstly, there is a dual GST model. What do you mean by dual GST? That when I do any transaction intrastate, okay, I will collect 2 types of taxes. One is called as CGST, called as Central Goods and Service Tax, and another tax which is called as SGST, which is called as State Goods and Service Tax. So when I am doing any transaction of sale or provision of any service, I will collect 2 types of taxes, 6% SGST, 6% CGST, when the rate of that is 12%. If the rate is 18%, then 9% CGST and 9% SGST. So the GST in India is on this dual model. Now, when I do intrastate, I will do this CGST and SGST. Now, when I do a transaction from one state to another state, I will levy IGST. That is only one rate. So if I deal in say a product of a calculator, the rate on this is 18%. If I am dealing intrastate, 9% CGST, 9% SGST. If I'm supplying this outside the state, I'm doing an interstate transaction, then I will levy IGST at CGST plus SGST, which means on this 9 plus 9, 18%, I will levy 18% of IGST on an interstate transaction. Okay. Now, what is this UTGST sitting in between? UTGST stands for Union Territory Goods and Service Tax. If it is a state, it is SGST. If it is a union territory, then it is a UTGST. So there are 5 UTGSTs. If these union territories are doing any transactions within their state, inside their state, then they will levy CGST and UTGST. And if any transaction is happening from one union territory to another union territory, or from one union territory to another state, then they will levy IGST. I will explain this with the example. How do you determine whether it is CGST, SGST, or IGST? You have to have 2 aspects in your mind. One is the location of supplier and place of supply. What is that? We will come to it. But understand that these 2 things are very critical. Excuse me. When the location of supplier and place of supplier is within one state, okay, it means it is an intrastate transaction. If it is an intrastate transaction, then you will levy CGST and SGST. Similarly, in state 2, if there is any transaction where the location of supplier and place of supply are in the same state, then you will levy CGST and SGST. Similarly, if there is a union territory and there is a transaction within the union territory, then the supplier will charge CGST and UTGST. Okay. Now, if there is any kind of a transaction between state 1 and state 2, then it is a transaction where the location of supplier is in one state and the place of supply is in different state. When the location of supplier and place of supply are in two different states, then what will be the levy? IGST will be the levy. When the location of supplier and place of supplier are in two different states, it's a IGST transaction. When the location of supplier and place of supply are between one state and one union territory, then also IGST. So anything you do outside the state, it becomes a IGST transaction. Okay, we understood between state 1, state 2 and union territory, clear? Now, if there is any foreign territory, if you are importing something outside India to your state, then you will levy IGST. And if you are exporting from one union territory to foreign territory, or you are exporting from your state to a foreign country, then also IGST is leviable. Clear? Yes, Kishan, what's your question? Vaikunta, what is your question? Okay. So any kind of transactions, which is a import transaction or an export transaction or a transaction from one state to another state, from one union territory to another union territory, from one state to another union territory, all of this is a transaction of IGST. Then what is the legislative framework of GST? The legislative framework is simple. We have three acts. One is Central Goods and Service Tax Act. When is this levied? This is a single legislation for levying CGST across. Okay, CGST is one law. All the states, when you do a transaction, you have to pay CGST and SGST. For that CGST, you will borrow this CGST Act. Then you have UTGST Act. This UT is applicable to whom? This is applicable to those union territories which are not having their own legislatures. So union territories will not have legislatures, which means it will be guided by the Governor of India, and he will appoint one representative. So union territories are guided by a governor, and union territories are of two types. One is with legislature, one is without legislatures. If a union territory is not having any legislative, then it will be guided by the UTGST Act. And then SGST will be applicable to whom? It will be applicable to states, right? It will be applicable to all states and also to union territories who are having a legislature. यूनियन टेरिटरीज जिसका लेजिस्लेचर नहीं है, जिसपे विधायक नहीं है, करेक्ट, उसको यूटीजीएसटी लगेगा. और ऐसे भी यूनियन टेरिटरीज होते हैं जिनके विधायक है, उनको फिर उनका एसजीएसटी एक्ट लगेगा. ठीक है. अंडमान एंड निकोबार आइलैंड्स, लक्षद्वीप, लद्दाख, दादर और नागर हवेली एंड दमन एंड दीव, ये सब मिला के एक यूनियन टेरिटरी है. और चंडीगढ़. So these are the 5 union territories which are not having their own legislature. So for them, UTGST Act will apply. On the other side, there are three union territories which are having their own legislature. Delhi, कुछ ही दिनों में नए चीफ मिनिस्टर आने वाले हैं, तो डेफिनेटली दिल्ली का लेजिस्लेचर है. जम्मू एंड कश्मीर का भी लेजिस्लेचर है, और पुदुचेरी इसका भी लेजिस्लेचर है. So these union territories are with legislature. So for them, they will be guided not by the Union Territory GST Act. They will be guided by their own State Goods and Service Tax Act. So only 3 union territories are with legislature, which is Delhi, Jammu and Kashmir, and Puducherry. They have their own legislature, so they have their own GST Act. They are not governed by the UT GST Act. So this is the legal framework. Who runs UTs without legislature? The governor. Clear? Somebody were raising hands. Do you have any questions with this? Exports no tax. Yes, exports no tax. But doing exports, it is no tax. But what kind of taxability it will be? It will be IGST. Okay, we'll come to exports. That time you'll get some clarity on that. But primarily, yes, exports are without tax. But if you want to pay tax, then it will be IGST. You cannot pay CGST and SGST in that case, is what I'm trying to say. Is there any IGST Act? Yes, there is IGST Act. Correct. So UT CGST, UTGST, SGST to understand. Then IGST Act is there for any kind of a interstate transaction. So once we understood the legislative framework, now let's get on to the next pointer on the framework of GST, classification of goods. So we have to do a classification of goods and services. For classification of goods, we used a term called HSN, which is called as Harmonized System of Nomenclature. So you may import some goods, you may export some goods. So you will not write the description of the goods, you will write a HSN number, and this HSN is universal across the world. Because when I import some goods, that HSN of that country and HSN of my country has to match. That's why the whole GAP convention, the whole EU or the whole World Trade Convention has arrived at the HSN code classification, which is an 8-digit code classification. For every goods, there is a number. Now that number is the basis for which customs clears the goods. That same number is used as a classification for GST. So harmonized system of nomenclature, that is the basis for taxability. That is the basis for identifying the rate of any goods. But for services, it is not HSN because HSN number is only for goods. So for services, we have SAC, which means Service Accounting Code. Okay, hope you're writing out notes so that these abbreviations will be useful for you, and any other important points which you noted down, please note it down in your notes. Okay, so how the classification of goods and services happens through HSN or SAC. Okay, next is the abbreviation is HSN is Harmonized System of Nomenclature, that is HSN, for that is for goods, and SAC is Service Accounting Code, is for services. SAC stands for Service Accounting Code. जब भी आप सर्विसेज प्रोवाइड करते हो तब वो कौन से कैटेगरी में है उसके लिए आपको SAC देखना पड़ेगा. For each SAC there is a different rate. Example, for consultancy services, SAC is one number and the rate is 18%. For construction services, the SAC is different and the rate is 5% or 1%. Okay. We can read from study material. Yes, you can read from study material. Okay. Then another aspect of GST is registration. Matlab kya? Registration you have to take if you cross some threshold limit. Now this threshold limit is a little confusing, but we have a good table which says that what is the limit for registrations. For the states of Manipur, Mizoram, Nagaland, and Tripura. Okay, Tripura, Nagaland, Mizoram, Manipur. I remember this because TNMM. TNMM is a term which CA students use it many times. One is to continue or connect with the TN Manoharan sir. His books was very good when I used to study. So TNMM, I remember as Tripura, Nagaland, Mizoram, Manipur. For these states, the threshold is 10 lakh rupees for both goods and services. If you cross 10 lakhs worth of value, then you have to take compulsory registration. For the cases of Arunachal Pradesh, Meghalaya, Sikkim, Uttarakhand, Puducherry, and Telangana, these 6 states, the threshold limit for registration is 20 lakhs for both goods and services. The first 4 states, 10 lakhs, second 6 states, 20 lakhs, and all other states, 2 limits, 20 lakhs for goods and 20 lakhs for services and 40 lakhs for goods. Okay, so 3 category of states you have to remember. First is TNMM, second is 6 category of states, the value is 20 lakhs, and all other states 20, 40, 20 for services and 40 for goods. Once you cross this, you have to take registration. But before this itself, you want to take any registration, you can take it. That is called as voluntary registration. The threshold is for sellers, not from the buyer perspective. It is from the seller's perspective. No, total threshold limit is not per month, it is cumulative. So first month, if you have made 2 lakhs, second month you have made 2 lakhs, third month you have made 5 lakhs. So 2 plus 2 plus 5, 9 ho gaye. And fourth month, if you are crossing 1 lakh rupees, you will cross 10 lakhs. If you are in one of the small states, then you are crossing 10 lakhs. In that, once you cross the 10 lakhs for that year, then you will have to take registration. So it is not per month basis, it's a annual basis. अगर इस साल आपका टर्नओवर less than 20 lakhs है, if you're only 15 lakhs, you don't need to take registration. Next year also, say 16 lakhs, no need of taking registration. Third year, if you have crossed 20 lakhs, first year में 15, second year में 16, दोनों मिला के 30 हो जाएंगे, तो आपको लेना पड़ेगा नहीं, you don't have to take. You will have to take if that years from the so April, not the calendar year, financial year. For that financial year, if you're crossing the limit, then you will have to take registration as soon as you cross the limit. Threshold limit means the limit कि आपका टर्नओवर उधर टच हो गया तो आपको कंपलसरी रजिस्ट्रेशन लेना पड़ेगा. That is the meaning of threshold limit. Okay. Any questions? Yes, Kiran.
हेलो सर.
Yes, please.
सर ये जो थर्ड थ्रेशोल्ड लिमिट है 20 लाख एंड 40 लाख का, और एक बार एक्सप्लेन कर दीजिए.
ठीक है, मैंने यहाँ पे दूसरे स्टेट्स भी लिखा है बिकॉज दीज आर ऑल्सो स्पेशल कैटेगरी स्टेट्स बट दे आर ऑल ट्रीटेड एज नॉर्मल स्टेट्स इटसेल्फ. सो थर्ड कैटेगरी में क्या होता है, अगर आपका थ्रेशोल्ड लिमिट मतलब अगर आप 20 लाख के लिमिट क्रॉस करते हो एंड इफ यू आर अ सर्विस प्रोवाइडर देन इफ यू आर क्रॉसिंग 20 लाख देन यू हैव टू टेक रजिस्ट्रेशन. अगर आप सर्विस प्रोवाइडर नहीं हो, आप सिर्फ गुड्स में डील करते हो, तो फिर आपको 20 लाख का लिमिट देखने की जरूरत नहीं है, आपको 40 लाख के लिमिट देखना है. अप टू 40 लाख रुपीस इस साल में आप कुछ भी सेल करो ऑफ गुड्स, आपको रजिस्ट्रेशन की जरूरत नहीं है. नेक्स्ट ईयर भी आपका टर्नओवर 30 लाख है, 35 लाख है, 38 लाख है, 39 लाख है, 39 लाख 99,000 है, तो रजिस्ट्रेशन की जरूरत नहीं है. थर्ड ईयर अगर आपका सेल्स अच्छा बूम हो गया है, तब आपको उस ईयर में जब 40 लाख क्रॉस करोगे तब रजिस्ट्रेशन लेना पड़ेगा.
सर किसी पर्टिकुलर ईयर में अगर टर्नओवर लेस हो जा रहा है 20 लाख से, तो फिर क्या होगा?
Once you have taken registration, you will continue to be registered. You don't have to see the turnover then. अगर एक बार आपका रजिस्ट्रेशन ले लिया गया है, तब आपको टर्नओवर 1 रुपए है तो भी आपको रजिस्ट्रेशन कंटिन्यू करना पड़ेगा, आपको एग्जेम्पशन नहीं मिलेगा उस साल के लिए.
ओके सर, अंडरस्टूड.
Sir,
threshold for
threshold limit was 600 what day?
Your voice is not clear, madam.
Sir, audible, sir?
Yes, yes.
So the limit is fixed under what criteria? There is any rules here?
There is a section called as section 22. In that section, they have fixed this limits, madam.
Okay, so thank you, sir.
सर जस्ट आप बोले कि जो सर्विस प्रोवाइडर सर्विस के लिए जो रजिस्ट्रेशन उसमें एसेशन कोड नहीं होता है, पर जब मैं कुछ रजिस्ट्रेशन की हूँ काम करती हूँ तो उसमें जैसे कंस्ट्रक्शन कॉन्ट्रैक्ट या मनी ट्रांसफर वगैरह का तो एसेशन कोड होता है, उनका सर्विस प्रोवाइडर ही तो होते हैं सर।
करेक्ट।
तो सर ये क्या बोलते हैं सर, आप तो बोले अभी कि जो सर्विस प्रोवाइडर का रजिस्ट्रेशन कोड नहीं होता है सर्विस के लिए।
होता है ना रजिस्ट्रेशन के लिए, लिमिट्स दिए गए हैं ना
सर।
उनके नीचे अगर 10 लाख नहीं है, उनका टर्नओवर सर्विस का 1 लाख ही है और उनको तब भी रजिस्ट्रेशन चाहिए तो रजिस्ट्रेशन ले सकते हैं। उसे बोलते हैं वॉलंटरी रजिस्ट्रेशन। गवर्नमेंट फोर्स नहीं कर रही है, आपको रजिस्ट्रेशन वॉलंटरी लेना है तो वॉलंटरी रजिस्ट्रेशन ले सकते हैं।
Sir, I am not talking about registration, sir. I am talking in एसेशन कोड जो आप सर्विस प्रोवाइडर के लिए बोले थे कि एसेशन कोड नॉट अवेलेबल है और गुड्स के लिए अवेलेबल होता है एसेशन कोड।
HSN कोड गुड्स के लिए, सर्विसेज के लिए SAC कोड है।
अच्छा, एसेसी कोड, ओके सर। ये जो कंस्ट्रक्शन कॉन्ट्रैक्ट वगैरह होता है, मनी ट्रांसफर, इसके लिए एसेशन कोड ही होता है, वो भी
SAC कोड,
सर्विस में ही तो आते
HSN
हैं।
नहीं होता।
रजिस्ट्रेशन का क्या बेनिफिट है?
जब हम इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट क्लेम कर रहेंगे ना तब आपको समझ में आएगा, लेकिन अभी के लिए क्या है, अगर आप रजिस्ट्रेशन करते हो तब आप आपके कस्टमर से टैक्सेस कलेक्ट कर सकते हो। बिना रजिस्ट्रेशन के आप किसी से टैक्सेस नहीं कलेक्ट कर सकते हो, फर्स्टली। सेकेंड, अगर आप रजिस्टर्ड हो तभी आपको इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट मिलेगा, अगर आप रजिस्टर्ड नहीं हो तो इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट नहीं मिलेगा।
थैंक यू सर।
Sir,
Yes, sir.
sir, as you mentioned, like HSN, SAC is also an international code, right, sir?
SAC is not international, only HSN is international. SAC
Okay,
is
sir.
developed in India itself.
Okay, sir.
So, for instance, a person living in Telangana crosses his limit of 21 lakhs, sir, only 1 year. And next later, he got up to 3 years or above 20 lakhs below, sir. Either he can cancel the registration or he have to continue this process.
If he is continuing his registration, then he cannot say my limit is below 20 lakh, I will not pay taxes. That he cannot say. Okay, so he will have to continue collecting taxes and paying to the government. But if he sees that no, my business will not grow about 20 lakhs itself, then he can cancel his registration. He can come out of it. And once it crosses again 20 lakhs, he can register again.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Sir,
Yes, sir.
is the in the threshold limit, if it keeps on getting low, that means more of the businesses need to get released, right, sir? So the compliances for the businesses is going to rise. Is that an issue for a business, or is this an advantage? What advantage has been given mostly for this northeastern states which are very small? What was the criteria?
There the turnover for their business itself are very less. If they keep the limit more, then very few people will get registered. So that's why they've given the limits less so that more people can register and government can get some taxes from them.
Anyhow, if I'm
कितने टाइम
sir,
पीरियड के लिए होता है?
एक मिनट मैडम, प्लीज कंटिन्यू सर.
anyhow, if I'm for let me put an example. If I'm an small business owner dealing with a food business, I import rice from somewhere. I mean, I purchase rice from a dealer rice mill. I will be paying my taxes on my rice. I'm an unregistered business entity. Now I would be while calculating the cost of my food or goods, I will be include the tax and I will charge from my customers, right, sir? So will that be an advantage for the entity in,
Yeah,
as you
if they take
mentioned with,
registration, it will be correct entity. It will be beneficial only because they can claim the credit then.
okay, sir.
Hello, sir.
Yes, yes.
Sir, how to check HSN for a goods? HSN number?
So you have this notification number 1 of 2017. There you will get the HSN of all the goods, sir. And if you see there, they're saying that for any kind of interpretation of HSN, you have to use the customs tariff. So if you use the customs tariff, all the HSNs you will get for all the goods.
हेलो सर.
Yes, sir.
सर, मैं अगर मल्टीपल स्टेट में बिजनेस कर रहा हूँ और वहां पर मेरा लिमिट के अंडर टर्नओवर है, बट अगर एग्रीगेट कर रहे हैं वो जो टर्नओवर का लिमिट है उसको क्रॉस कर रहा है, तो क्या हर स्टेट में रजिस्ट्रेशन लेना पड़ेगा?
दिस इज एग्रीगेट टर्नओवर. अगर एग्रीगेट टर्नओवर क्रॉस हो जाता है तो हर स्टेट में रजिस्ट्रेशन लेने की जरूरत है. लेकिन एक स्टेट में आपका एग्रीगेट टर्नओवर से कम है, तब एक एग्जेम्पशन बताता है कि आपको उस स्टेट में रजिस्ट्रेशन लेने की जरूरत नहीं है.
ओके सर.
हेलो सर.
यस मैडम.
अगर गुड्स और सर्विस दोनों वो प्रोवाइड कर रहा है तो फिर ये लिमिट जो 20 और 40 लाख का है फिर वो कैसे हम लोग देखेंगे?
तो जैसे दो चीजें हो जाती है. अगर आप प्राइमरली गुड्स में ही हो तो फिर 40 लाख का कंसिडर करना पड़ेगा. लेकिन आप अगर दोनों हो, सर्विसेज और गुड्स, तो फिर आपको सर्विसेज का लिमिट कंसिडर करना पड़ेगा.
मींस हायर लिमिट.
लोअर लिमिट, क्योंकि सर्विसेज के लिए लोअर लिमिट.
लोअर लिमिट. ओके, थैंक यू.
सर रजिस्ट्रेशन कितने टाइम पीरियड के लिए होता है?
इन्फिनिटी. ऐसा कुछ लिमिटेड टाइम के लिए नहीं होता है. एक बार रजिस्ट्रेशन ले लो तो वो जिंदगी भर है.
सर टेलीकॉम कंपनी अपना रजिस्ट्रेशन कहाँ कहाँ करती है? जैसे सर जियो कंपनी है तो ऑल ओवर इंडिया चलती है, उसका सर्विस चलता है, तो उन्होंने अलग अलग स्टेट में रजिस्ट्रेशन किया होगा.
क्या चलती है?
सर्विस देते हैं सर, जो अलग अलग स्टेट में देते हैं ना सर, जैसे हम यूज कर रहे हैं इनके सर्विसेज, तो ये लोग अलग अलग स्टेट में अलग अलग रजिस्ट्रेशन किए होंगे ना सर.
उन्होंने आपका क्वेश्चन ठीक से समझ में नहीं आया.
सर ये पूछ रहे हैं, अगर हम सर्विसेज अलग अलग स्टेट में प्रोवाइड करा रहे हैं तो हमें हर स्टेट में रजिस्ट्रेशन अलग अलग कराना पड़ेगा या फिर ऑल ओवर इंडिया एक ही रजिस्ट्रेशन?
आपको हर स्टेट में रजिस्ट्रेशन करने की जरूरत नहीं है. और आपको सेंट्रलाइज रजिस्ट्रेशन भी नहीं मिलेगा. कि ऐसा नहीं कि मैं यहाँ पे रजिस्ट्रेशन ले लिया हूँ तो मेरे दूसरे स्टेट के एड्रेसेस भी इसी रजिस्ट्रेशन में डाल दो, ऐसे नहीं चलेगा. आपको उस स्टेट में रजिस्ट्रेशन करना है जहां से आप सर्विस प्रोवाइड करते हो. अगर आपके स्टेट बिहार से एग्जाम्पल प्रोवाइड करते हो तो आपको बिहार में रजिस्ट्रेशन करना पड़ेगा. आप बिहार से जम्मू में भी सर्विस प्रोवाइड कर सकते हो, बिहार से बैंगलोर में भी सर्विस प्रोवाइड कर सकते हो. आपको IGST चार्ज करने की जरूरत है. आपको कर्नाटका में आके रजिस्ट्रेशन लेने की जरूरत नहीं है. आपके कस्टमर कहाँ पे है वो रजिस्ट्रेशन डिसाइड नहीं करता है. आप कहाँ से सर्विस प्रोवाइड करते हो वो रजिस्ट्रेशन का क्राइटेरिया है.
It means the branch registrations, right, sir?
Branch registration you can do within the states if you have multiple branches. But if you have a branch outside India, outside state, sorry, if you have a branch outside the state, in that state you will have to take that branch registration.
Yes.
Sir,
Yes, sir.
sir, in case of exporting a product, will I'm under the limit of GST? Since I'm exporting, do I need to register the GST or not, sir?
If you're below the limits
Outside India.
Outside India,
Exporting
but
outside India, I'm under the limit. Do I need to register or not?
Below the limit, you don't have to register. If you're crossing the limit, no GST will be payable because if you are exporter, but still you will have to take that registration.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, if the entity is not in the limit of registration, then it will still be liable to pay the taxes.
If you have registered, okay,
No, sir,
say you are.
it's not in the limit of registration. It's below the limit.
See, if it is not in the limit of registration, that doesn't mean you will not get registration. If you're not under the limit of registration, you don't have to go for registration. And then you don't have to pay taxes. But if you're under the limit of registration and you have voluntarily gone for registration, then you cannot get escape from that limit. Once you are registered and you are below the limit, still you will have to pay the taxes. You're understanding the difference. One is you are not registered, you don't pay taxes. Second is you are registered and your turnover is below the limit. Still, you will have to pay the taxes because you are registered. Once you are registered, you cannot escape.
Okay, sir, understand.
Sudip's question is whether this limit are in terms of turnover. Yes, these limits are in terms of the annual turnover.
Sir, a similar question, sir.
Yes,
sir.
please.
In case if I'm collecting tax from the customer, even though I'm not registration, it is illegal, right, sir?
It is illegal, correct?
Yeah. Okay, sir.
Sir.
Yes.
Good evening, sir. I'm doing business, sir. In HSN code, some people provide only 4 digits of HSN, first 4 digits, and some business people provide 8 digits. So, how many digits should be there, sir?
So
and how to find out?
Based on their turnover, the HSN limits are there. So the limit is up to 5 crores. They have to disclose 4-digit HSN. If their turnover is above 5 crores, they will have to disclose 6 digits HSN. So based on their turnover, government has given the limit.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sir, but HSN was used to classification of goods, sir. But what to do with that size?
The voice is not clear.
HSN was used to classification of goods in GST, but what to do with the size of the business turnovers?
I didn't understand.
So, for example, if one code was in HSN, one number was assigned for a particular good, it deals with that good and the tax rate applicable for it. What does it matter with the size of the business in disclosing it?
No, if it is lower turnover, they will not require to get into detail. So 4-digit means it's a main category. Then 6 digits means it's a more detailed category. Okay, so you will have to have clarity under which kind of category you're doing it. So if it's a small dealer, it means he will not require to get into detail. But if it's a big dealer, then he will have to get into more detailing. That's why they're given 6-digit for him and 4-digit for a small dealer.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so we are completed today's timeline. So we'll continue with this framework of GST in India, and then we will get into the what is a composition scheme, what are the exemptions and other framework of GST. and then we'll get into the constitutional aspects of GST in our next class. So our next class will be on Tuesday. We will discuss on other framework and constitutional aspects. So once the chapter gets completed, I generally have a multiple choice question at the end of the session. So we will go through it and we will keep our concepts more clear. Yes, ma'am.